familiar with the name Danny Elfman? And if not, then you might familiar with the name Danny Elfman. And if not, then there might be a chance that you are more familiar with these films and TV series. As very few might know, Danny Elfman is responsible for the iconic and engaging soundtracks behind all of these productions. And though we may not have a face to put to these very distinguishable and iconic, dark, brooding undercurrent behind every production he works in, it can be agreed that some of these scores are timeless and unforgettable. In this presentation, I will be exploring the entrepreneurial qualities that Danny Elfman possesses and how they influence my personal outlook on careers and how I intend to monetize my creative talent. Since the start of Danny Elfman's career, he has been working in the media production industry. Danny Elfman's service to the world of media production is the composition and creation of music scores and soundtracks that align aesthetically with his past work and who he is as a person. To be clear, he is selling his individual trademark style of work associated with him, rather than just any kind of film score that producers ask him to make. To quote what he says in an interview with GQ magazine, "I came from many years with Oingo Boingo and was a total brat, and I was out to aggravate everybody. I thrived on negative energy in the same way that if you want to kill Godzilla, you're not going to kill him with radiation." Anyone familiar with his work can agree that he embodies the music he creates and carries that punk attitude into his composition work too. The most important contributing factor to Danny Elfman's success is this aforementioned trademark. Uniqueness, unconventional sounds, and his pre-existing profile as a musician gave him a unique understanding of music that introduced a new sound to the world of film, and filled a gap in the market. Danny Elfman was scouted to score Batman because although none of the directors knew how they wanted the score to sound, they knew that Danny Elfman would know how to score it. To quote Danny Elfman's experience working on Batman, he thinks that they, quote, "need someone who knows how to do this kind of music." But according to him, nobody knew what kind of music it was. There really was no superhero music, there was just Superman, and they knew they didn't want it to be Superman. And after the producers convinced Danny to collaborate with Prince, he went as far as declining because wouldn't you know it, he already knew what the score was going to sound like. Danny Elfman's very innate sense of creativity and depth in which he is in touch with his trademark style has become so recognizable that people know his work before they know him. His process is as much a mystery to everyone as it is to him, and those who hire him know that the only way to predict the results that Danny Elfman produces is simply to just find out. In an interview with AOL, he is asked, "What gave you the idea for Simpsons theme?" And to nobody's surprise, his answer was, "Watching The Simpsons, stupid." Elfman would have been stepping far out of his comfort zone to become an accomplished film composer, whereas he had a very secure career being Oingo Boingo's frontman. He was in high demand and so was the band. But as it turns out, during his time in Oingo Boingo, he saw himself in that band making original music well into the late stages of his life, going as far as to joke that he would even be producing music in death. He never considered going into score writing in the first place. There was a large risk in giving up the recognition that came with his band to go into an industry where the general public would not care to put a name to the composer behind many beloved films. His struggle to maintain his position in the film scoring industry is known, and it took many failures before he reached the fame he has worked himself up to in the current day. In a journal talking about his success, one author writes, "While he struck a solid chord making music for movies, he'll also tell you straight up he's hit the wall many times, head on. Slide down in defeat, then try again. There is tension and turmoil inside the mind of Danny Elfman. It's the process that makes it creative." After reading a book called The Inventor's DNA by Jeff Dyer, I can utilize the framework of the 5 skills attributed to destructive inventors and attempt to visualize how Danny Elfman's success may have been related to these skills, whether it was his conscious effort or not. Most notably, associational thinking allowed him to take his transferable skills from the punkish songwriting of 80s Oingo Boingo to creating film scores. These two disciplines would be considered vastly different to most, but in the mind of Danny Elfman, these were close enough that he was able to jump from one to the other. Networking was how he eventually broke the barrier between these two worlds, and through Tim Burton's entire director discography, Danny Elfman established a trademark style for people to associate with the unique sounds he introduces to screens worldwide. It is known that through his entire career and well into his fame, he was known to experiment far out of his range. Notably, he goes into every production with an attitude of, "Let's just see what happens." As mentioned earlier, Danny Elfman heavily considered whether score writing was something he wanted to pursue, as opposed to staying in a band forever. Though, once he had a taste of what film composition would bring him, he took many risks and tried and failed until he found success he knew would be there for him in that industry. When it comes to my personal career, I have developed a habit of revising and investing my time and thought in planning my future career goal. Though I have multiple ideal and achievable scenarios plotted out, the common goal between them is I can comfortably engage in my passion for art and make a living from it. Like Danny Elfman, I would never have considered entering the animation industry were it not for a friend begging for my contribution to one of their works. Now I realize that whether it be opening an art house or working at a particular company I am passionate about, my skills are applicable to so many fields that I previously have not considered. Although no matter where I end up working, I want the loudest part of my career to be my individual style. My overarching ultimate goal is to be recognized for the unique flair that I exhibit in every work I'm contributing to, whether it be animation, production, games, advertisement, or artwork. I want there to be a sense of familiarity in my work where people can recognize who it was made by, not by name, but by my individual style. Conceptually, I have a rough idea of the level of time commitment, dedication, and resources that I have to put into becoming such a, dare I say, famous creator. I know that it'll take a long time for me to gain the recognition I speak of in this day and age with the surrounding competition and the dying love for art created by humans, now that AI technology is seeing rapid development. The time commitment that I attribute to coming to a point where I would be hired before producers would consider using AI would be lifelong. I would have to spend all the time I can to make my work known and become a recognizable trademark in every industry I enter. Although it sounds grandiose, I have a big passion for preserving the human element in art, and I want to be, hopefully, in the future, a big voice advocating for this. My future vision is to be in a professional position where I can be hands-on with work that I can use my technical skills in, such as character art, concept art, character design, and animation, prop design. Most of this falls into the category of games development. And a particular company I have in mind is Digital Extremes, as their productions align with my existing art style. I believe I have something unique to bring to that developer company, while also maintaining their house style and adding to it in interesting ways. When it comes to how long this will take, I believe I can make it happen in a relatively short amount of time if I set my mind to perfecting my own personal style. In that way, like Danny Elfman, hiring me becomes easy, and a matter of knowing what I will produce for that company, rather than hoping I can produce what that company wants. It is with this philosophy that I will be treating my career, and though it might not be easily, evidently, nothing good ever came easily. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.